We can at least start with reports. My name's Bob Tucker, and if we could have the YSPN Navigators report.
Oh, that would be me.
Okay.
So it's actually very short and sweet. We're going to keep it today short and sweet. But we have started working with the providers. I know this year, because we had 2 veteran providers come back, we have set appointments with our new provider, which I don't think they're here yet, Kinship, to start their training. And we've been touching base, or I've been touching base along with our eligibility technicians, which is Juan Casares. And Stacy Tepp is still working with them on training our new provider to get up to speed with our veteran providers, Orange County Conservation Corps and OCTEC and OCCC. Yes, Orange County Children's Therapeutic Arts Center and Orange County Conservation Corps. Yes, let's spell it all out so everybody knows. So I don't think we've had an opportunity to congratulate them since they've been awarded. So that's the other thing I wanted to do. So I wanted to give them a round of applause for our new providers for this year. And definitely thank also one of our last year providers, which is the City of Santa Ana Library. They did a fantastic job, and I wanted to thank them also for their great service and so forth. So I also want to give them a round of applause. So this year we did have a total of 3 providers, like I mentioned, and we've spent some time with Kinship and training them. As we all know, it takes a little bit longer because they are new to the game, but they're doing a fantastic job getting in there also, and our providers have already started inserting enrollment packets to our eligibility technicians. So we're looking forward to meeting our numbers by December, if not sooner, and continuing the training process. So I think that's it. Well, I'll let the providers, no worries, I'll let the providers report on their wrap-up of last year, and then also touch bases on how they're doing with their enrollments for this year already. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Orange County Children's Therapeutic Arts Center.
Hello everyone.
Hi.
My name is Arlene. I'm the program coordinator and one of the case managers for our program. Elizabeth is passing out our short report. I provided a brief summary of last year's participants and the barriers that some of the youth had. And then I touched base on 2 key points, which is basic skills deficiency and their current placements right now. So basic skills, it just means that they score in reading and math above a 8th grade level. So at the start of the year, all of our participants were basic skills deficient, and by the time we came to exit them, we got a 64% improvement in our participants in either one or both subjects, reading and math. Figure 3, it just shows again a breakdown of the placements. So out of the participants, 86% of them are either employed, enrolled in school, or both. And then at the bottom, we have a summary of this year, so 2019-2020 participants. So far we have a total of 10 participants out of the 26 that we are set to meet. Out of the 10 youth, we have 9 who are basic skills, 5 youth with disabilities, 1 poor work history, 1 high school dropout, 1 parenting youth, no foster youth at this time, and then 1 homeless youth. So like I mentioned, we have until December to get all 26 participants, and we are still enrolling and doing a lot of outreach. Any questions? Can I kind of list by that?
I find it hard that you guys can't get a foster youth.
We've been
Only
trying.
3,000.
We've been trying.
Social services
We've
in
done.
there.
We've attended outreach events. So I know we recently had on August 3rd they had the Foster Youth College Fair.
Mm-hmm.
So we attended that. We did get a few numbers, and so we're in the process of calling them and trying to get them into the office to begin the enrollment process.
How about working with some of the STRTPs?
So we're
Or
working
what they used to call group homes?
with the Transitional Planning Services Program.
Uh-huh.
I know I've met and spoke with Paulette. So she's been helping me try and get in touch with different group homes and different people to do more outreach with them.
Okay.
Do you work with the foundation? Orangewood Foundation?
So in the past we have, but we're looking into potentially going out to like Olive Crest or Orangewood Foundation to do some outreach over there, do some presentations at their agencies.
How about foster youth outcomes? Do you participate in that?
In the meetings, yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
So hopefully we get one or two before the year, before December. And I know our in-school spots have increased too, so hopefully that helps. I know in the past that has also been an issue that we had very few in-school spots. And a lot of the foster youth that we would get referred were in-school participants.
How about Charmaine Lindley? Have you spoken with her?
That name does not sound familiar, so I haven't been in touch with her.
Okay. Maybe I can get you that,
Sure.
that information. She does the transitional, she's the director of the transitional, housing, that Olive Crest has. And so kids have to be in school and work and all that kind of stuff. And so this seems like a good match.
Yeah, we would be open to it. Any help that we can get, we'll be definitely open
Alright,
to it.
well, you get your numbers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we doing presentations from youth? I wasn't sure.
Yes, you can.
Okay, so I brought a youth today. This is from this year that we just closed out. Her name is Anna. She's going to share a little bit about what she's been working on.
Hello. Hi. I wrote it down because I do get a little bit nervous. So. Good evening. My name is Ana Pulido, and I am a mother of two beautiful little girls. Before joining the youth employment program, I was a stay-home mom, and I feel like I didn't have any option in regards to my future because I didn't have anyone to take care of my two daughters. I heard about the youth employment program and decided to join because it offered an opportunity for me to return to school, and it also helped me with my child care. As part of this program, I am currently working on obtaining my child care worker certificate. I am actually just one class away from being done. This program has also helped me earn my CPR and first aid certificate. Most importantly, the youth employment program has encouraged me to want to enroll back into college. I plan on attending Santa Ana College next fall 2020, where I hope to begin my journey in obtaining my teaching credential. As part of child care worker certificate, I took a child development class at OCTAC. This class taught me parenting skills, which I have applied when raising my two daughters. I recently applied to work with the Santa Ana Unified School District as an after-school provider, and I am keeping my fingers crossed that I get the job. I hope to ultimately gain more experience working in a school setting. Currently, my long-term goal is to become an art teacher in either an elementary or high school setting. The youth employment program is helping me achieve my goals by providing assistance with my professional development. This includes building my resume and improving my communication skills. I thank all the staff for not only mentoring me, but also helping me become a better person and, most importantly, a better mother. Thank you.
Thank you. Orange County Conservation Corps.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, pretty much the general reviews are usually just pretty much the barriers. Basic field efficiency was primarily one, and then compared to last year, re-entry was the huge one, so, that's where the biggest differences from 2017, 2018 to 2019. We did, test 6 of the basic skill deficiency, out of the 14, we did test 6 because, under the criteria, under the guidelines from the state, we did go with another measurable skill gain. However, we noticed that on our records and on our numbers that it should all be tested for this upcoming year when they get enrolled, because then we could have more exact data for the contrast. Additionally, we did have, we had 19 individuals who were placed directly in employment, WEX, and 3 attained employment directly after enrollment into our youth program. Those 3 individuals attained employment in warehouse and in retail. Certifications changed a bit this year. Someone did get a forklift, and before the regulation changed, the year changed, NRF not being a credential, one of them did attain it, and it is recorded as a credential. But our goal for this year, and from here out, the ones we're exiting from this, for this program, and we're focusing more on CTE courses, because that's gonna be the new criteria for credentials. So our goal is to get them into the continuing education at Santa Ana College, or sometimes some of them prefer going directly from their work experience, going directly forward to college. So it's just easier, and then with transportation, we help them out with that item as well. So that's what we're pushing for. Once you complete, for the ones that are going to high school, that's also what we're trying to push them to get to that. And that way, nice way to, get this post-secondary credential. That's what we're focusing on. Employment industry changed a bit compared from last year. This year, some of them were into warehouse, some of them went into plumbing, which is something new, and hospitality. That was something very different compared to last year. So one of them went to hospitality, which he loves, and then some of them still are working with us to further enhance their skills in landscaping and groundskeeper work. So hopefully, we do have a couple of great things coming in, and we're going to discuss that after I finish with this information. Right now, we do have 2 from the 8 that graduated from the 8 that went to secondary education that enrolled during our time. 2 graduated, and they're going to be in the following page. One of them, he shared a success story, and then I highlighted the second one on the bottom. The remaining 7 are still enrolled. They were enrolled, so they're still working on that. And from the 19-12 got in employment, so we're working with the other ones, with employment, and 2 entered and continued on to post-secondary education. We are working because we are working on, like I said, on getting them into CTE courses, because that's the way of the future, and we want them to be ready for the 21st century. So that's where we stand. Any questions? And then to advance, the biggest thing that came out from our last meeting was reaching out to our foster youth population. So we did attend that same job fair on August 3rd, hosted by Orangewood Foundation, where I had the pleasure of meeting Cheryl there and say hi to her. So we were there. We also had a great conversation today with Orangewood, one of the case managers there at Orangewood, and with probation today to reach those, reach out to that population a little more. So we're and engage in a conversation where we're hoping to build a partnership where we could help probation, as long as sometimes those individuals that are foster youth are in probation, not all of them, but some of them. So we're working with them in tandem, and I think that's where we're going to start creating that awareness and start bringing them into the program, so we could get better serve that population. Yes.
I think that last year you had mentioned that some of the students come in with IEPs.
Correct.
So, you are working with students with
Yes,
disabilities,
and
and you're not Yeah.
Not for this one, because last year what we had discussed is that sometimes they don't disclose on that information, that they have an IEP. So thank you, for the advice from our last meeting in the youth council, our last youth council. What I'm doing is kind of sneaking away because I legally can't ask them if they have an IEP. So when I was like, hey, by any chance, hey, did you have an extra activity course? Did you go to a class during the middle of the day? You know, try to, nonchalantly ask that question if they were part of like a resource class, or they did meet with another teacher, so we could reach out also to those individuals and record it during the eligibility process. Report that they have a disability, and we could record that.
You can ask simply about accommodation.
So yes, so that's another one,
That
and
would be a
so
real simple way of asking if they have a disability.
and that's where I think that's where.
Accommodation.
And that's where I'm working more on that because I want them to feel comfortable. So I ask them very, around the, questions around the corner, not directly straightforward because I can't ask those questions. But I am. I'm working on that.
So like Jackie is saying, you can be very direct and say, do you need any accommodations?
And it does.
And
Yeah,
then
correct.
ask
And
them
then, yes.
accommodations.
Okay.
And that'll kind of lead them to the IEP,
Disclosing.
and
That's
the
right.
accommodations are just to help them out so that they can survive in your program. So it's important, really, it could be one of the right up front questions without saying, do you have an
That's
IEP?
right. That's right.
You're asking if they need accommodations, and
Right.
accommodations.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing because then you are, like making sure that they know that you're here to support them with the accommodation.
Absolutely, and that's where. I mean, I've always pretty much open. I'm pretty much open, and I'm very. And so I agree with that because I do ask that question. I ask that question, but sometimes elaborating a little bit more can make them feel comfortable. So yes, I will just be more direct and not more. A little bit more.
If you don't give them the accommodations, they're liable to not be successful.
Correct.
Right.
And so so when it comes to accommodations, we do ask that question. We always do. But we're just trying to make it more of a. For me personally, I'm trying to make it more of a comfortable. I always try to make it easy for everyone to disclose, and then I put them in a situation because sometimes.
And if I can add in, I think sometimes too, especially with Orange County Conservation Corps, it is a very physical program. So if somebody is maybe dyslexic or is a learning disability, they're not always so open to say, yes, I have one, because that might hinder them, or they might feel that might hinder them, even though they're telling them, no, it's, we're okay, we serve all populations and so forth and so on. I think I know we've even encountered in some of our programs, that's why even though we ask them, do you need accommodations? Well, what type of accommodations do you need for dyslexia? Or I know there might be other stuff, but maybe not so open that we may be aware of. So they might not say, okay, well, that's going to help me, do the recycling program and so forth and so on.
Maybe they might need a reader.
And that's where I'm talking about. Where I'm covering more is when it's not a visible disability. Because when it's a visible disability, yes, absolutely. But when we don't disclose that it's a non-visible disability or something that an individual cannot see, then it's where it's a little hard to we ask accommodations, but sometimes they don't want to disclose, just like Sandy said. So that's pretty much what. Thank you, Sandy, for clarifying that.
Right.
So that's.
But I think that like, I'm sorry to interrupt, I just wanna make sure that, I think it is important because it's the elephant in the room. And by not, okay, because sometimes, as you said, Sandy, it is possible that they are saying, because of the physical, because of, they might say, well, if I disclose this, they're gonna think that I'm not capable of doing the work
Right.
that I need to do. But if you put it out there and you say, you know what, regardless, you're still very capable of doing A, B, and C, then the elephant, you're addressing the elephant in the room. You see what I'm saying?
That okay,
Because then it just breaks the ice. Because then both parties are like, oh, I've got to be careful. I don't want them to feel bad. And then they're also thinking, I don't want to disclose it because maybe they think I'm not able to do A, B, and C. But by addressing it in a very natural way, you
You're
know?
creating a safe haven.
Yes.
And that's what we're,
Yes.
that's what we try to create, and just, like, that's what I try to do, that environment when they meet with me. It's just sometimes it happens that they don't disclose it after the fact, when that, and then it's trust also, it's trust.
Right.
Once the trust is built, like the first
Yeah.
thing, it's still like water's going on, but once you start building that rapport, it's just, then you're like, oh, darn it, well, I understand why you didn't tell me that information. However,
They're missing
you know,
on
we're
the
missing
support
that,
that
they're
they
missing on
need.
the additional support they could have,
Right.
so that's.
So I have a question. So what words would you suggest they use to approach the elephant in the room?
So as Jackie had
Mhm.
originally stated, it's good to say, do you need any accommodations? Because we all, and also as part of your protocol or the interview or getting to know, that they know that these questions are asked of everyone. Of everyone. Do you see what I'm saying?
So if they ask that question and the person says, well, I don't need any, and you know that you think that they do, how would you suggest, say, well, you're protected? What words would you use to follow up if they're a little resistant?
Right. I'll just say something and then Jackie, please jump in. Because when you ask the person, do you need any accommodations? Because, we can provide support with, if you do need accommodations, before they even give you an answer, because we can provide additional support for reading, for writing, for, and then when they see that you're letting them know, if you tell me the truth, we can give you all these services.
It puts them at
Got
ease.
it right there.
Yes.
Okay.
You also
Bec-
might mention that, you do test them.
Okay.
You do wanna see where they are academically.
Right.
We do.
Okay.
So that could go right along with the sentence she just gave. Do you need any help in reading and writing and
Right.
math? There are tests that we do in order to find out where you are academically, and they wanna give you accommodations. If
Right.
that would help you, extra time.
Right.
And then, then you wanna find out, are they real accommodations or someone just asking for extra time
Right.
and they aren't special needs?
Right. And that follow-up, these are the supports that we can do, if you need the accommodation, that way that word is not so abstract, right? What is accommodation? They might not even, but I think it's got to be addressed from the beginning, that way they feel comfortable, like really, really building that rapport with them. I think everyone should do that, all of us now.
We will do that. I will put that into action, this program here. Just not even waiting that little 2 or 3 minutes, the 1 or 2 second, just like, well, you need accommodations, because, we test, and we just wanna make sure that you have the right time, and,
All
you're
the
successful.
support.
We don't want you to
Be
be
successful.
fearful of the
Right.
test, if you need accommodations,
Yes.
So I'll address it that way, so it gets some more, upfront information, so we can
Yes.
annotate it out here in our.
Exactly.
it's very welcoming,
Yes.
more than anything else.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then the last thing I wanted to do is just at the back is a follow up with Jordan, who came in for gave us a success story. Unfortunately, there was another individual that due to the short notice and not having babysitting accommodations for his child, he wasn't able to make it today. But there's a follow up, and then we highlighted the other graduate by name. He's listed there on the second. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Santa Ana Public Library.
Hello. This is our last year doing this.
You are still welcome to me.
Oh, of course, of course. I've been doing it since 2011, so we're pretty happy, and we, got our progress and that. And, now we're hoping to get more support for our seeds to trees through general fund rather than This last year was a challenging year. We were only able to enroll 13 out of our 15 participants. A lot of that was due to some of the changes in policies within the city. In the past, we were able to enroll a lot more probation youth because the city requires fingerprints and those kinds of things. The probation youth were, apprehensive and didn't go through the process.
one of the youth that was a probation youth was also a foster youth that was out of school, so we weren't able to finish and help accommodate that youth. Another foster youth we had was ruled out because they were an in-school youth. They were temporarily out of school because they were on academic dismissal, not dismissal, like academic probation. But by the time everything got processed, they were back in school. So that negated that. So we weren't able to meet our full enrollment for the first time since we did this program in 2011. So it was kind of, and that was, the challenging part. Of the youth, we've had 46% were placed in employment, 23% post-secondary education, 8% were post-secondary and employment, 7% was high school graduate, 8% post-secondary, and 8% alternative school. One of the youth that was placed in full-time employment, it's a really neat story because many, many years ago when I first started working in library in the teen club, there was these two young men that came to the library. One was 16, me and his younger brother, Stephen, was about 12, and they were homeless. And the older brother, Louis, was very happy to find a place for his brother, and they kind of became library kids. Louis was also part of the summer youth WIOA program, and he was placed at the city in the computer, in the IT department, and he discovered his talent for IT. And then the older brother had got into trouble, and I tried to hire him in the library, and I was not able to hire him because he was a probation youth at that time. And because he was an adult, he couldn't get hired. So that was about 10 years ago. And we've kind of kept in touch. I get a message from him. Louis sends a message, hey Cheryl, I'm in charge of the IT division now for a capital finance company, and I want to give back, and I want to give an opportunity to a young person like me to, who has the heart but may not have the education, may not be able to have the education to work. And so we sent 3 of our WIOA youth to him, to Louis, and he interviewed them, and he selected one guy. So it was really, because he's like, I want to give back, like Alex, who was the IT guy, taught me, and so now that's how we have this kid.
Very cool.
So that was really, really important about how these kinds of programs work, and how a young person that benefited from the WIOA in the library years ago comes back and gives back. I have Whitney Odalis here today. She was part of our WIOA Seeds to Trees Academy year 4. She was part of a big transition year, and I'll let her tell you how her success so far, and then she'll introduce her mentees and go from there.
Hello everyone, like Cheryl said, my name is Lorelis Gomez. I do live in the city of Santa Ana. I was born and raised here. When I started the program 4 years ago, I was still in high school. I was figuring out where I wanted to go. I ended up getting accepted to Cal State Long Beach. I graduated last December, and I do start my master's program on Monday in speech and language pathology. So I'm just very excited and very thankful to the program. I have a lot of people in my life that were helping me throughout my route through applying to college again the second time. So I was really fortunate to have the support twice at the library. So it was really a good experience. Now I also was able to help, like Cheryl said, my mentees as well. So I really did like giving that support back to my community. So we do have Daisy and Soul here. If you want to come up, say a little bit about yourself. They are both placed in employment. So they were WIOA this past year. So they both do have jobs now.
So hi, I'm Daisy, as she mentioned, and Soul. And we were part of the WIOA program last year, 2018, 2016, and 19, I mean, my bad. 19, and this program gave me a really nice experience. I am a first-year college student, my family obviously, and I was majoring in communications broadcasting, but I wasn't really sure if I should do that. So I was like, let me explore the things, and then I found out about the program WIOA, and I got really involved in the library. And then from there, they kind of gave me the externship, which was with Heritage Museum Orange County. And then from there, I was working there as a tour guide, teaching kids about history and stuff. And I fell in love working with kids more. And then from there, it kind of made me realize that I actually want to work with kids. So I'm changing my major to still communications, but education. So being a counselor for students and kids.
So like they mentioned, I was not born and raised here in Savannah. I was brought from Mexico at a young age. So I was still getting to know people, but from the beginning, I always wanted to work with children. So when I saw the opportunity to work at the library, since most of the time I wasn't at the teen space, but I was always at the library, I took the opportunity to just be there and try to learn. I also did that externship at the Heritage Museum, and I am currently employed at the museum. I'm working towards getting my major in education, so I could be an elementary school teacher.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, the whole team, YSPN, OFTAC, OCCC. We've had different faces with OCCC. You know, with Cheryl and Xander and the whole team here, Bob. You know, it's been really great. You guys have been very supportive, and you guys do great work. And please think of your library. The library is still your partner with your youth, because we're a place where we have programs from pre-birth to really old. You know, so we're always
Older adults.
Yeah. It's older than it's incorrect. But you know, we are your consistent place, and we're always looking for doing creative programs. And just think about us and send your youth over to us.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Project Kinship here?
Yes.
Oh, okay, Project Kinship, please.
Hi everybody, sorry for being late. So I don't have those nice little graphs everybody has. We just started
Not yet.
this program. So we're very honored and to have the privilege and to be able to serve in the Savannah with and collaborate with other partners. We're currently still in the phase of still enrolling youth. This year we plan to do that in 2 cohorts. One first quarter and the first and second quarter, and the second on the third, or towards the end of the year, so we can meet all the enrollments. Some of the partnerships are construction companies. We also have our social enterprise silkscreen training program on site, and then also a culinary arts program for youth to be able to go and learn and also get trained in that field to get placed in that once they're done with their internship. Some of the programming, what it looks like is they're able to get a case manager, a peer navigator, and a support person for once they go onto the work site. So I have 3 people working with each youth, and then we'll also provide all the other mental health services inside at Project Kinship. Anything from substance abuse, counseling, individual counseling, and then support groups. We have a support group for youth, basically for our high school youth and junior high. I think our youngest right now is 12. So the oldest is 17, and that one really expanded. And it came out from the parents bringing their kids because they didn't want to stay home or they had nowhere to babysit. So we started a group for the youth. And then we have another one which is for the adults, 18 and up, and that one's also a lot of them are parents that are struggling with the children or are struggling themselves still. And then the substance abuse is as well on Tuesdays. Thursdays we have a leadership group training, and that's for our Tay youth. 16 to 24. The neat thing about this one is we're also incorporating our youth that are still in custody at Juvenile Hall, YLA, and YTC. We furlough them out to come out and be part of our group and help transition from the moment their time starts. So when they do get out, they already hit the gate running and have something going for them. So, and that's some of the things we're working on. I did get the email yesterday, so we didn't bring any youth that we're currently working to enroll or from our past programs. Questions?
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah.
You missed the beginning. We congratulated and clapped for you.
Thank you.
So we have quorum, so I'll call the meeting formally to order and Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Ignacio Alegre.
Here.
Cheryl Alexander.
Present.
Sandy Anino.
Here.
Ana Jimenez Jami.
Here.
Priscila Lubiano. Jorge Martinez.
Present.
Garrett Rincon. Linda Rose. Ana Ruiz.
Here.
Jackie Russell Garcia.
Here.
Anthony Sandoval.
Present.
Bob Tucker.
Here.
Dennis Barnum.
Present.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Thank you. Consent calendar, recommended action, approved staff recommendations for consent calendar items 1 and 2. 1 is the regular minutes of April 11th, and if I understand, there's a recommended amendment to the minutes. If, pardon?
Somebody needs to make a motion to accept the
Okay.
updated minutes, I think.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the updated minutes as
Yeah.
presented?
So if you guys, in the initial one that got sent out or that was posted publicly, there were 3 small little typos, which you don't see now in the one that you have because you have the corrected one. But if you look at page, sorry, 1-1, that one was an actual 6, and now it's the correct number was a 5. So the number we counted incorrectly for motion for the first motion under consent calendar on 1-1, where it said absentees, it should have been 5, which you have the correct one now. And then there was also
We said there were 6 absent, and
Yes.
there's 5 absent.
and then because I'm looking at the corrector one, I'm trying to see, make sure that, and then I
On
believe
page 3. The same thing.
here. So under page 1-3, under the yeses, it was a 6 and it should have been a 7, which you'll see now corrected. And then under the absentees, it was a 6 incorrectly and now it's correctly a 5. So those are the 3 corrections that we made, which you're currently seeing on here.
So is there a motion to approve the amended minutes as described?
I move we approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried. Excuse absences, it looks like there aren't any absences?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll move on to the business calendar. Item 3, resignation of members of Santa Ana Youth Council. It's recommended to accept the resignation of Monica Garola and as the private sector and parent representative, and Garrett Rincon as the in-school youth representative of the Youth Council. Is there a motion to accept the resignations? Second? Any discussion? All
So,
those- you
both,
want-
yes, just really quickly, both of them, one of them actually moved out of state and the other one has been busy with schooling, so we've been unable to connect with them, so.
Okay.
Just for a clarification,
Sure.
who motion?
I do.
Thank you, Jackie.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Item 4, election of officers for the Santa Ana Youth Council for the 2019-2020 term. Recommended action, elect a chairperson and vice chairperson of the Santa Ana Youth Council to service of the 2019 and 2020 term. Nominations are open.
So if you guys, I know this seems like we just did it, because we've only had a few meetings in between, but we actually did it in October of last year. And so we've had a couple of skip meetings, and I think we've been so busy with the RFP and the nomination and the new providers and doing all of that, that the year went by like that. So again, it's open. You guys can nominate our actual chairs need to be one of our workforce development board members. So if I can have you guys raise your hand, those that are actually on the board, we have Bob, which has been doing and continues to do a fantastic job as our chair. We have Dennis, Ignacio, so kinda, but not really.
You can nominate someone, Ignacio.
You can nominate someone too. So
When
we
the light
have.
turns green, you go 100 miles an hour and say, I nominate, boom.
So we have three. So our chair has to be a workforce
Rose.
development, and Dr. Rose has to be a workforce development board member.
And in the bylaws, is there a limited term or can?
There is no limited term.
And the city clerk, or we follow the city council's guidelines, which is to elect a chair and vice chair once a year.
Oh,
Typically
okay,
in the
but it's
June,
still by-
the May,
okay.
June, so
Okay.
it's that kind of a cycle.
Jackie, your hand
I'd like to nominate Bob again.
Thank you.
You're
up. I
welcome.
second.
Other nominations for chairperson?
Let's go to vice chair.
Nominations for vice chairperson?
Nominate Dennis Farmer.
Okay, that's it.
I second.
Any further nominations for vice chairperson? Okay, not hearing any, and that there's no other people running. All those in favor of the nominations as presented for chairperson and vice chairperson, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Dennis.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's what happens when you do such a great job.
Thank you for your past service and for your continued service.
Thank you. That's the end of the business calendar. We do have a work study session. Item 5, it's the Youth Council Committee Voting Seats Study Session, which includes history behind current committee seats, WIOA requirements, Workforce Development Board bylaw requirements, and current members roster and their representation.
So it's a mouthful, I know, but it's more of a conversation amongst all of us. And while I'm passing these out, it is 2 pages, guys, so make sure to get the first one and the highlighted one in the back. It's 2 pages. I wanted to use this opportunity. I am going to go over some of the past history and then some of the current WIOA requirements. And then, of course, what our bylaws indicate for our Workforce Development Board. Because as you guys all know, our Workforce Development Board governs us by their bylaws too, which they adhere to the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. Sorry for my limping, I broke my toe. So I just kind of wanted to go over this. This meeting was to not kick anybody off my board, of course, because I value each and every one of you guys. But really to evaluate the seats that we currently have because our law has changed. And I am a little bit behind in doing this because initially we should have done it when the law changed and WIOA came into effect. Under the Workforce Investment Act, they had very strict guidelines on what our youth council needed to consist of, which you'll see at the very top. So the Workforce Investment Act was in 1998, and they actually required a youth council committee member, a youth council committee under the Workforce Development Board. So they said you have to have one, and it needs to consist of the following individuals. So it should have any one or more members of the board, which could be a representative of the business in the local area, an educational entity, a labor organization, a community-based organization, economic development agency, and then any entity elected by the official or local area that they determined was appropriate. So any one or more of those that from the Workforce Investment Board back then. And then, of course, the following 2 through 7, which is a youth service agency that could include the juvenile justice agency or a local enforcement agency, public housing authority, and I don't know that we ever had a public housing authority.
We haven't, we can ask our housing authority if they'd like to appoint someone or nominate someone.
And that was the requirement back with WIA, the old law. Also, an eligible youth, a youth that was eligible for our actual program. They wanted to see somebody sitting on the committee. somebody from an organization that has experience relating to youth activities, which we have a couple of us. I mean, we have Dr. Anna that is very experienced. We have Cheryl, but I know Cheryl was actually one of the requirements too, as far as social services. Job Corps was another requirement that needed to be on the board. So this was something, they set our seats for us. Now with WIOA, this new law, they have pretty much said that the local board may designate and direct activities of a standing committee to provide information and to assist the local board in carrying out activities. They're not specific. Such standing committees shall be chaired by a member of the local board, which we have. And they shall include other individuals appointed by the local board or non-members of the local board who the local board determines are appropriate and experienced. Local boards may create a new standing youth committee that has different membership than the youth council under WIA in order to design a standing youth committee membership to meet the local area's needs. So they've pretty much given it up to us to decide who, how many we want on our committee to help navigate and direct and develop programs for the youth in the community, which I think is fantastic. Because they've given us the power to say, hey, this is what's needed in our community. Every community is different and specific and individual to themselves. So we don't want the state or somebody in the Fed saying, you need to have this agency. Well, we don't really work with them or whatever the case is. Now we get to decide, hey, we want to keep all the seats that we have and then add more. Or maybe we need to add an additional arm of this particular agency because of XYZ. And that's where all of you guys come into play, not only those sitting on the committee right now, but the public that's sitting up there. I mean, I welcome the conversation. The only thing that the bylaws, which you'll see I highlighted in the back, so the bylaws that Deborah and the executive committee of the Workforce Development Board.
The Workforce Development Board's bylaws.
And I just pulled the excerpt, which is the article that states with regards to standing committees, and it pretty much states, and I'm not going to verbatim because I don't want to take up too much of that time, but it says that our chair needs to be part of the board, and then he gets to choose who his vice chair is. However, because we've been such a democratic group and so equal and open to everybody's suggestions, that we made it something that we all decide on as a group. Hey, we want our chair to be this person. Yes, we're still following the law that it's a Workforce Development Board member, but then as a group, we also decide who our vice chair is. So that's kind of where the big picture lies. So now my question comes back. Oh, the other thing I wanted to pass out is, obviously you all know, you guys all know who's sitting around the table here, but you don't know exactly, for the most part, because we don't mention at each meeting. But the sheet that I'm passing around here shows our council membership or our committee, our voting individuals currently sitting on our youth council committee. So of course, our youth council committee will see their name on there. And please correct me if my information is incorrect, because that might be wrong. I know some of the titles have changed, people have gotten promoted, people have moved departments, so I will happily correct that for you. At some point, I'm going to give you your actual full contact information, so I make sure I have everybody's updated information, cell phone, emails, and so forth. So as you can see, we have a total of 4 Workforce Development Board members. I highlighted them in red, and those are Bob Tucker, Dennis Varnum, Priscilla Luviano, Dr. Rose, and then Ignacio Alegre. They all have their own representation of the agencies that they work for and then who they represent, which I indicated in the category here. So as you notice, we have representation from labor, employment, youth services, another person from labor, education, adult youth services. We have the college, which is really great. Individuals with disabilities, we have some really passionate individuals and expertise with regards to individuals with disabilities. The juvenile justice system, which is very important, especially for our youth, and to get their input because we want to make sure that we're in line and that we're still serving all youth. Social services, foster youth, we definitely don't want to leave that population out. A community-based organization, which also has extreme expertise. They've been here for a while. Job Corps, and then we have special education, and then we have a couple of youth, but we've lost a parent representative. One of the things that I did want to bring to the table is that we have some of our youth that are no longer youth, but that there are still can provide a voice. I know one of our youth that had to leave has now become a Santa Ana parent, which is kind of being nice to see the full circle, because now we can transition them maybe from a youth to a parent representative, which I think would be fantastic too. But the mic is open. What do you guys think? Do you feel that there's any missing populations here? Any arms of any agencies that I need to outreach to? People specific that you would like to see and invite to see if they would be a part of? Because it's really up to us. There is no guideline other than what I've mentioned. So we have the power to say, yeah, we want, obviously the Workforce Development Board's going to bless it. But we as a group get to decide who we want represented and who we want to be voting for the decisions we make with our request for proposals, how we develop our program, the population that we serve, and all that detail that we've done. Actually, this year was a perfect year for that. Anybody?
Well, I see a very eclectic group of agencies here, so I think we met the quota. We met the fair. I think we went beyond. We have a lot of representation.
Any agencies that you guys think we're missing, or a population that isn't quite represented?
Santa Ana Unified.
And I'm passing out a blank sheet just so that you can jot down if you feel uncomfortable telling me now. Feel free to jot down a person, the agency that they're with. But I'd like to hear it so we can discuss it. Bob, you said Santa Ana Unified?
An in-school student with Garrett having moved on, and a parent of students in Santa Ana Unified.
And also, I know we used to have, from the one stop, we used to have a youth that was part, and I definitely wouldn't mind continuing that.
Yeah.
A youth from, I'm sorry?
One of our youth caseworkers.
Our YEO.
Yeah, YEOP.
A YEOP youth?
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
I think I might have given away my clean sheet. You want this one? Did I give away my blank sheet? I think I did.
Housing and probation.
Yeah.
Those are two different.
So Santa Ana Unified School District, is there anybody in particular, Bob, that you think I should reach out to? Or a position?
Is there anybody here that's a parent of Santa Ana, as a parent of someone who's in Santa Ana, of kids that are in Santa Ana Unified in this room?
So you want a parent that is part of the Santa Ana Unified School District? I think that would be Mr. George Martinez.
Okay, all right.
I would have to ask him, but I know he lives in Santa Ana, and I want to say he has...
Kids in school?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
But I can ask.
Okay.
So you're looking for a parent that's part of Santa Ana Unified School District?
Yeah, I reached out to Valerie, and I haven't heard. She wants to. She's, oh yeah, I got to do that,
And then,
But she would be good because she's part of the school board,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that would, if not Valerie, someone from Santa Ana Unified School, the school board member. That would be really good.
or a school board member.
Yeah. That's a great idea. I like that tag you're in, Valerie.
She's retired.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yes.
A representative of YEOP youth right here.
Yes, we have those there.
And he has already submitted his application, so I do have it. I will be bringing it to the table. I wanted to make sure to discuss, to make sure we wanted 1 youth, 2 youth, 3 youth, 10 youth as part of the committee. But he is already one of the youth that will be up for nomination as part of our board at our next meeting.
Well, tell us about yourself.
Oh.
So my name is Alberto Cruz. I'm born and raised in Santa Ana, still in Santa Ana, residing in. I'm going to Chapman University currently, and at the same time, I'm with the YOP program here at EDD. So I'd like to say I'm pretty resourceful and very organized when it comes to different meetings. I'm also part of the City of Santa Ana's Youth Commission. So there we have our own stack of things to do. So I'd like to say that I've done a bunch of things, and I'd like to thank everyone and like to thank the board for taking me into consideration as well. So thank you.
So that's something we can take action on at the next meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I have his application that I'll put in and incorporate into the action item. Any other suggestions on, thank you so much for that. I know you were put on the spot.
If the youth council's in favor of that, then we can take the application to the workforce board meeting in September for nomination or appointment to the youth council.
As opposed to coming here first, they would go directly over there?
Well, we can go either way, it would just delay his appointment to the youth council.
Can we
So-
take action on that now without it being agendized?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, just checking.
But the workforce board could take action.
Okay.
That would be September, and then they would come, he would be eligible to serve beginning October.
Yeah. Housing and probation agencies, we got, who's?
Probation.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We've got our probation guru here.
But maybe if someone from housing, like Section 8, who may work with parents who have young, or in-school youth or out-of-school youth, or
Like a case manager or someone
one
representing.
of the supervisors from Section 8.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I know.
Yes.
Yeah, so we were just discussing, maybe a collaborative organization that represents youth that are homeless, or a homeless collaborative. That's a population that we see on the rise, and that would be a good, we just wanted to throw it out there.
So like a collaborative or an agency, somebody with an expertise.
And that topic.
Okay. Yes, Cheryl?
I think it might be good to get someone from Downtown Inc. or the Santa Ana Business Council, because, they represent all the businesses downtown, and they are invested in having young people work for them and working with different businesses. So those two groups would be, a representative from each of those groups would be really good to have.
From Downtown Inc., Santa.
Downtown Inc. and the Santa Ana Business Council. They both represent the business district downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the gentleman that owns the Frida?
That's Logan.
Okay,
Logan might be good. He's part of Downtown Inc.
okay.
And then the Santa Ana Business Council, it's the Arianos who own the furniture store.
Okay.
One of them, I know that the husband is really into STEM education.
So you're thinking of an actual business?
Yeah, a
That's
business-
part of these.
That's part of.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, 'cause
Not
they are-
staff.
Not, it doesn't need to be staff. I'm
No,
saying like
a
a
business.
business that's involved in that.
Business owner.
A business owner
That is part of the downtown.
Either a business owner
Yeah.
that's part of Downtown Inc. and a business owner that's part of the Santa Ana Business Council.
I like that.
Because that way then the Santa Ana Business Council, business owner, and the Arianos have used Seeds to Trees interns before, and then Downtown Inc., the businesses there, they're always looking for people for art walk and.
You said the business is Arianos?
Ariana, the furniture is the Mega Furniture Store. So, and the owners are the Arianos.
Also, we can ask Ryan, who's the staff
Yeah, you
person
can
from
ask-
Downtown Inc., to recommend. Ryan.
Ryan Smolar.
Ryan Smolar is,
For Downtown Inc.
yeah,
and-
for Downtown Inc., but he's staff.
And Madeline Spencer
Right.
for Santa Ana Business Council. I'll make a presentation to them and see,
Madeline.
Spencer.
Spencer.
Yeah.
Do you know Lawrence's last name? Lawrence? Yeah, from Orangewood Foundation. Lawrence, no, but that's, yeah. The Orange Wood Foundation. They have a CSEC program there. They're on 17th Street. I can't think of his last name. I'm thinking of a different Lawrence. But they also have a CSEC program. Homeless youth attend there. So there's a lot of CSEC. There's a number of programs there that will address different populations, but it's right on 17th Street, just east of Grand. So I think that the programming and they would be a good addition to this board.
You don't have a person I can connect with?
I'll get you the
Please. Thank you.
I'm thinking of his first name, but I don't know. Senior moment. On the dark one. Jackie, you had your hand up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jackie, I can't see you from
Since I'm retired and I'm no longer SAUSD, I do have someone that I'd like to recommend. I'd like to recommend Celso Fuentes, who used to work here at the Work Center. He actually filled in for me once or twice when I was unable to come here. I think he would do really well.
And he's part of
the transition program. So he works under Ryan. I know that Ryan took my position, would not more than likely be able, because
Ryan is his boss?
His boss.
And I would go through Celso or through Ryan?
I think you could go to Celso
first
and ask him. If you want me to
Yeah.
mention to Ryan that I recommended Celso. He finished at, I believe it's Cal State Fullerton. He has his bachelor's.
He's a product of workforce development. I mean, he's been through all the See, he was was he a summer youth program too?
Yes.
He was summer youth. He was STEM. He was YEOP. Was he in OCTAC?
Yeah, we collaborated.
He was in OCTAC. I think he touched everybody.
Yeah. He's
Thank
really
you.
Good recommendation.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
Amazing young man.
Well, this definitely gets me busy. Is there anybody else that you we must? I can't guarantee everybody's going to say yes or that I'll be able to convince everybody, because that's the other thing I wanted to talk to everybody about. It is a commitment, and it is an important role, and there is rules and within the bylaws if certain amount of meetings are missed, those positions get eliminated from the actual board. And I haven't been as active in doing that, but I'm hoping that this coming year, because we are going to have this new board, I want to make sure to put that out there too. So I want to make sure that the group that we do have, if we are going to make it bigger, that they're going to be active, because whenever we don't have quorum, we can still chit chat, but no action can be taken. And then we don't become the useful committee that we need to be for the Workforce Development Board, because now we haven't recommended anything to them. We might have done work here and everybody has volunteered and spent their time, but then nothing actually gets recorded and it doesn't get filtered into the Workforce Development Board if we didn't vote on anything as a collective group. So I need to make sure that everybody who is on here actually attends our meetings, and that.
You said that, Jennifer Pulliam is an assistant division director, and I've done a lot of traveling in the past year and a half, 2 years with my agency with new programs, and so I have been one of those people probably that has made that list of truants, and so I was going to ask and talk to you about having her be a part of or replace me in the board, but she is my
Jennifer
Pulliam, P-U-L-L-I-A-M.
Okay,
and I can give you their contact information as well.
Does that mean you would be leaving us?
Oh, one or the other. I'm not doing quite as many out-of-state travels, but I supervise monitors, and so those programs are out of state. I travel to those programs and visit those programs to make sure that they're providing the services that are needed for kids that are in care.
And thank you for mentioning that, because I totally get that. This is a volunteer position, and I value each and every one of your time, because I know for some of you it's not, it might be part of your job, but it might be outside of your job also. So I do value each and every one of your time, and I understand that. I know a couple of individuals have mentioned, I'm doing a class and I'm training, I can't do this, or I'm going out of state for my job. Totally understandable. And if you do need somebody to replace you, then that is fine too. We can coordinate that also. But I'd rather, make sure that we relay that information so that when we get a full quorum and we're able to follow through on our action items, so that we are able to be that committee that advises the Workforce Development Board on everybody's expertise here on better serving youth. Otherwise, we're not doing our job as a committee either, and why are we here? And we do need to be here. Because we are very important.
But do you need any, categories to resign?
Do we need to eliminate anybody?
Yeah, do you need to eliminate?
I do not need anything. I do not need anybody to resign. I bring it to everybody as a need. I think everybody, and Jackie said it, everybody is valuable here, and everybody's position is valuable here, and representation. Are you trying to go away?
I think we need foster care on
If it's,
yes.
Well, if the foundation come in, they have foster, they have our youth, so I wouldn't, that would just, be an overlap, so, right? Yes.
Well, they would think, she said they do all kinds of programs.
Right, but they all pertain to youth that's been in the foster care system.
But they also have just homeless youth.
Right, but
Sure.
99.9% of them
Yeah.
has been in the foster care system.
But you help open doors in the social service agency and the foster youth.
And I want to say too that I think, and we have our years, and I don't think we've been where we need to be with the foster youth.
Right.
Any one year, we've had better years, and then we
Yes.
had some really bad years with foster youth.
Right.
And I think it's kind of this, thing that kind of goes up and down depending on regulations and other stuff going on and so forth. But I don't want to give up on making sure that they are well represented here, not only around the table, but also as our population that we are serving, because they are considered one of our, most at need to serve and definitely provide services. It's trying to get through all the bureaucracy and the paperwork that I think WIOA has, and then of course that they also need to, that social services and foster youth need to do to make sure that the youth is healthy and in a safe environment.
It's finding that out-of-school foster youth, because the law is pushing us to 80% out of school.
Right.
And so it's that little niche of the
Right.
18 to 20-year-old.
And that's the foundation.
Okay.
For real, seriously, that's the foundation. They have our,
What about the population that doesn't go to the foundation? Because I was in foster care, but I never went to the foundation, just because my experience was just so. Well, it was just challenging when I went to the foundation, so I was like, I'm never going back. So we do have a big population that does not go to the foundation. That some of them are in traditional housing programs that just, they're just there, just trying to find a place. True, but I can't find them all.
We have our foster youth represented here, a former foster youth.
Right, I'm in 3 categories.
Just a question.
Okay.
Just a question.
So I will do my homework. I think this gives me quite a bit to go off of. And then also, if you have any contacts for any of the suggestions that you've made, please forward them to me, because it would make my job a lot easier. And so that way I'm not kind of like, oh, do you know who's in charge of? And then, oh, please hold. Oh, and then I kind of go through that for the whole day.
Yeah.
So if you have somebody in particular for the agent, the contact information and their name or their title, I'd love to have it so I can get my spreadsheet going on my outreach to all of them, and just to give them my speech, get my elevator speech in place for them. So, Jackie?
I just sent an email to both Ryan and Celso to let him know that I gave his name and that he would be contacting Celso.
Okay,
And I have
perfect.
Brian's number.
Oh, okay, perfect. Awesome. Anything else I missed? This was good. Comments?
Very good.
And again, this is your group. This is your, yes.
Great thing, not a big relevant topic, but this year has been a pretty good year for me. So I did finally get my high school, and I did start going to SAC.
Yay! Awesome. So you are in school, you.
Yes.
And Anaheim's Youth Council has been quiet for the last several years, but I did hear Luce was going to probably resurrect their youth council.
Okay.
Good.
And I'm not sure if Orange County still has a youth council. I think they're non-existent. So we are one of the few in the state, And Department of Labor is starting to notice, because it's not law, a lot of workforce boards eliminated it and just kept like their their one-stop resource group and their business group.
Only 50% have youth councils, and now they're thinking maybe they should have youth councils, which is
Right.
good. Yes, sir.
Yes, so we were just discussing another mental wellness organizations that would be great to consider.
Do you have anybody that you could think
No,
of?
I'm just brainstorming here.
Okay.
Okay. If there's nothing else,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Then we are finished with the work study session. Thank you very much for your input. I think it's been quite enlightening, and Valerie's got plenty of time.
Yep.
We've been through reports. We're on to item 7, public comments. Members of the public may address the Youth Council Committee regarding any non-agenda items. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address us currently? Okay, not seeing any. Number 8, staff member comments. Staff member comments. When's the next regular board meeting?
It's September 19th,
Okay.
and we'll have that meeting.
Do you know if that lady from UCI is going to be able to make it?
I haven't confirmed that, but I'll
Okay.
email you once I confirm with her, and we can share it with everyone.
Yeah, it's a lady. It was what we're talking about is a lady who gave a presentation to the League of Women Voters about our misdemeanor law system and how it's causing a lot of trouble for folks, and she has some ideas about reform. Anyway, any other staff member comments? No? Okay. Youth Council Committee member comments. Okay, great. Then we're on to adjournment. The next meeting will be October 10th at 4 o'clock here. And thank you all very much for your advocacy.